Have you ever had peppers growing in your garden that look healthy? They're really beautiful, lush, and green, but they produce almost no fruit? I may have an answer for you to why that is. And it's one of the most common mistakes that gardeners make, whether new gardeners or even seasoned ones. A lot of people will plant their peppers out the same time they plant out their tomatoes, and this is a huge mistake. Tomatoes can deal with cooler temperatures than peppers can. Tomatoes don't mind nights getting a little bit chilly. They're actually much more robust and able to handle that cold. Peppers, on the other hand, are very, very, very cold sensitive. And so if you plant your tomatoes and your peppers around the same time in your garden, what a lot of times you'll wind up with is peppers that look really healthy. They're green, they're beautiful, and they look like they're growing just fine, but then you have almost no fruit production or very minimal fruit production. And that is because that pepper plant already went through some shock and some trauma because the temperatures were just too cold when they got planted out. And so this can actually slow down or minimize fruit production throughout the entire season. It's really hard for a pepper plant to catch up once it's been through that cold shock. And if peppers have experienced this early shock, a lot of times their root development just isn't as healthy. And because those roots aren't as strong and healthy, the plant is put into survival mode instead of fruit production mode. So while tomatoes like warmth to grow well, they prefer it to be warm. Peppers, on the other hand, actually need the warmth to thrive. They are true heat lovers. And by now you're probably wondering, okay, so when do I plant my peppers outside? And here's some key things to keep in mind, to consider, and to plan the timing of your outside planting. You want nighttime temperatures to be above 60 degrees. You do not want nighttime temperatures falling below that 60-degree mark. You also want the soil temperature to be at a minimum of about 65 degrees Fahrenheit and daytime temperatures to be at a minimum of 70 degrees. And when these temperatures occur can actually vary from place to place. So it's really important to keep an eye on your weather and your 10-day forecast before you plant your peppers in your garden. If you really want to get nerdy with it and you want to check your soil temperature, you can get a simple soil thermometer. This will tell you what the temperature of your soil is, and I would recommend checking it during the day and at night if you go this route. But you really can just keep an eye on the weather app on your phone and what those daytime temperatures are doing, what those nighttime temperatures are doing. This is going to be a really good indication if your soil is warm enough, because if the daytime temperatures are above that 70-degree mark consistently, and if your nighttime temperatures are not getting below 60 degrees, you can be pretty confident that your peppers are going to thrive and do really well. And if you've planted your pepper plants too early, you might be thinking, is all hope lost? And the answer is maybe not. Now, again, it can be really hard for peppers to catch up if they've went through this shock early in their life. But there are some things we can do. If your pepper plants look healthy and you're growing them in your soil and it's really warm now, you can start to give them a little boost of fertilizer, specifically one a little bit higher in phosphorus. You want to kind of reduce on the nitrogen and amp up on the phosphorus. You can also make sure you have a decent mulch around the base of your pepper plants just to kind of keep that warmth in, and just give it some time because they may come into production later in the season. All right. So if you're really excited to get your pepper plants in the garden, there are some things you can do to kind of help speed up this warming process to get things ready. When it comes to your soil specifically, especially if you're growing in ground, raised beds, the soil temperature is going to be a little bit warmer, a little bit faster, just because it's a little bit higher up off the ground. But if you have an in-ground garden, one of the things you can do, and you really could do this with raised beds as well, I guess, but you could use like black plastic to lay over your soil, and that will kind of help warm that soil a little bit quicker. And you can also add compost to that space. Those nutrients are going to be really important for your peppers to grow throughout the season. And also adding compost can actually help heat up that space as well. But one of the best things you can do while waiting to be able to plant your peppers in the garden is throw some quick growing crops in there. Things like lettuces, arugulas, radishes. These are going to grow really, really fast, and you're going to get 2 times the production in that single space. Some tips for success when it comes to planting your peppers in your garden when it's finally time to do so is don't overcrowd them. Peppers need a lot of airflow. They are prone to many different types of diseases, but specifically diseases that thrive in humid conditions. And so that airflow is just gonna help them be productive and successful all season long. So peppers don't mind being a little bit close together though. General rule, most of your pepper plants can be about a foot apart. When it comes to your bell peppers and your larger peppers like that, you may want to give them an 18-inch spacing just to, again, provide this airflow and also to promote healthy root development. Make sure that your soil is well amended with compost, some organic granular fertilizer. Use something like AgroThrive as a well-balanced fertilizer throughout the growing season just to kind of keep your plants healthy. Again, when they come into fruit production, adding a fertilizer that's maybe a little bit heavier in phosphorus than in nitrogen is a really good practice to help give them what they need to produce fruit. When you first plant them in the ground, it's probably a good practice to remove those lower leaves just to kind of prevent against disease and things like that. Mulch around the base of those plants to keep them warm, to keep the water in the soil, and also, actually, it will also help to keep them cooler. So it's weird. Mulch helps them stay warm, but it also helps them stay cool at the same time. When peppers do come into fruit production, they can get a little bit top heavy. So it's a good idea to give them some support with some stakes, or my preferred method is actually tomato cages. And tomato cages really should be, the name of those should be changed to pepper cages, because tomato cages are not good for tomatoes, but they are great for peppers. And if you've noticed that you put your pepper plants out into the garden and maybe you have fruit production happening a little bit too early, your plant looks really small and stunted and you've begun to see fruit already coming in, this is actually not a good thing. What you should do in these cases is pick off that early fruit to allow the plant to develop healthy before it puts its energy into fruit production. We actually want to delay fruit production a little bit when it comes to peppers. That might sound like contrary, but really it's to get that plant as healthy as possible before it goes into fruit production. Because peppers can produce a lot of fruit just from one plant. And we want to give them what they need in order to do that. So remove those early fruits that begin to form if your plant is still really small or it looks stunted or it's just early in the season. Just go ahead and take those things off. I know it might hurt to lose that harvest, but really it's going to lead to a better harvest down the road. So if you've ever had healthy, green, beautiful pepper plants that didn't produce any fruit or produce very little fruit throughout the growing season, this is probably what happened. Let me know any of your pepper stories down in the comments below. Let me know your favorite varieties of peppers to grow. And let me know when you plant peppers in your zone. I'm in zone 10A or 10B, so my pepper growing season is a lot different than most of the country. An important note when it comes to peppers is you may also see that fruit production slows down in the heat of the summer. Peppers don't really do well when it gets too hot. So they need it really warm in order to produce fruit. But once those daytime temperatures are above 90 degrees or 95 degrees, a lot of times they're going to drop their flowers. This is completely normal. And as temperatures lower down and we start to get into the latter months of summer and into the early part of fall, you'll probably see production ramp up again. In the description, I'm going to leave some links to some of my favorite gardening products. All of these are things that I use in my garden, and they're links that might be helpful to you. Now, these are affiliate links, so if you purchase through them, I may earn a small commission, but there's no extra charge to you, and it does go a long way in supporting the channel. I thank you guys so much for watching today. I'm going to leave a video on your screen until the next one comes out. May your garden be full of grace, and may you be abundantly blessed. We'll see you next time. Bye.